Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind. Deaf and blind students in the playground.
So my name is Robbin Clark, and I am the Expanded Core Curriculum Coordinator at the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind. So my job is to supervise and to model instruction, all based on the Expanded Core Curriculum.
What is STEM?
So STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And I have to be honest, I kind of fell into STEM unexpectedly.
A collage of images showing happy students.
I noticed that a lot of my students really struggled with having opportunities to get in on STEM. And as a mom, I go to plenty of STEM conferences with my children, I do the family nights, and I started to look around and I started to wonder, can my students do this? So I did a little bit of research, did a little bit of digging, and talked with STEM Utah and some other of our teachers.
A collage of images showing the Utah STEM bus and students.
And I realized a lot of our students were being left out of typical or mainstream STEM activities, and I wanted to put an end to that because students with vision impairments have lots of abilities, and if it was just something holding them back, well, we could create accessibility for that.
What are typical challenges faced by students and teachers?
So both teachers and students really struggle with having accessibility and creating accessibility to any of the STEM-related activities. Something could be very visual, or it might not have, if they're doing like coding or programming, the accessible technology that they would need to access usually isn't there, and that's become a pretty big barrier for students to access and just to participate in STEM activities.
How can we modify STEM to create greater accessibility?
There are three things that if teachers would keep this in mind, it would really help create a lot more accessibility to the STEM instruction that they are providing. The first one is print accessibility.
Students reading Braille.
And print accessibility means having things in Braille or large print, tactile graphics.
Makey circuit board.
And then the third one is having a lot of hands-on opportunities to learn about things.
Female student playing keyboard with laptop, donuts, and USB circuit.
A lot of people will pick up an object and show it to the class, and that can be very difficult for our students with low vision or no vision. So having another replica of the item, additional materials, ways that our students can get hands-on so that they develop meaningful concept development. Those three things really can help provide greater accessibility for STEM.
Students and teachers overcoming obstacles. What should we remember when providing STEM instruction?
So there are three things that teachers really need to think about when they're planning everything, aside from the quick tips for accessibility. The first thing is students with vision impairments always benefit from hands-on instruction.
A collage of photo and video showing young students working on projects which portray the topics as they are mentioned. And
that again could mean having a replica of their own one that they can have, or the tactile map, or the way that they can participate instead of just listening, that they can really be part of things. And you can modify that based on whatever your activity is. But really remember that students always need hands-on instruction. It's the way that they're able to see everything. The second thing to remember is that vision, when you have it, it's instant. You can instantly see something happen. And if you have low vision or no vision, that's not going to happen. So you want to always remember to plan extra time, pre-teaching, maybe an additional follow-up lesson. Students with vision impairments are typically not cognitively impaired. But because something can be very visual and very complex to look at, having that extra time really makes a difference that meaningful concepts have really been developed for our students. So that extra time, pre and post teaching, really can make a great difference in the ways that our students learn. The last thing that teachers should always keep in mind when starting to work with our students is that vision impairment is a unique disability, meaning that environmental factors, lighting, can really affect the way that a student can see.
Students are shown in a variety of classroom and outdoor activities.
So maybe your student can see something very clearly in the classroom, but then you shift into a dark room or you go outside. The lighting has now changed, and that can really impact the way that students can see things. If you've never had a student with a vision impairment before, remember that vision impairment is a spectrum disorder, meaning that we have students at one end who have no vision and have never seen, leading all the way up to students who have a lot of usable vision, but you would never know that by looking at them or how much little or how much they have. So remember, just ask students ahead of time, can you see this? What can't you see? What can you see? What modifications would you like? I always encourage general ed teachers to be discreet with this. Some students can be a little embarrassed and some students feel very comfortable. But you always want to remember that lighting and environmental factors really matter.
How can we best support our students?
The thing that I hope most people realize is that students with vision impairments have abilities beyond measure. It just means we have to find creative ways or innovation and accessibility to unlock all of those abilities. I've had a blast watching my students learn robotics, coding, engineering projects. To this date, there hasn't been anything that we haven't figured out a way that they could understand. Let your students be the lead. Ask them what they need and watch them. That's probably the biggest way that I find what I need to do, is I watch my students. Now, tactile graphics, those things help. Accessibility with prints, those things help. But I love watching my students tinker around with their hands. And that's been the best part of this whole STEM opportunity. And we continue to do physics days, robotics, coding. So far, the sky is still the limit for all of the things that students with vision impairments can do when it comes to STEM.
A deafblind teenage student stands on a peak of red rocks, waving her white cane in the air. Utah School for the Blind.